So let's talk about something that's kind of wild. We live in an age that's all about innovation, right? The next big thing. And yet, some of the hottest firearms on the market right now are designs from like the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. It's this incredible comeback phenomenon, and we're gonna dive right into it.
I mean, it's a fair question, isn't it? We're surrounded by high-tech polymers, crazy space-age materials, and modular everything. So how is it that these old-school icons, the ones made of actual steel and wood, are not just hanging on, but are actually thriving? What's pulling us back to the past?
And you're definitely going to want to stick around for the end, because the last story we have is maybe the most surprising of all. We're going to talk about how one firearm, one that was basically laughed at as a novelty, completely reinvented itself into a symbol of incredible engineering and accuracy. The transformation is just, well, you got to hear it.
Okay, so let's kick things off with firearms that really earned their stripes in the toughest places you can imagine, the battlefields of the 20th century. But these aren't just museum pieces. They're being brought back to life with modern tech for a whole new generation. First on the list, the Ithaca Model 37. This shotgun came out way back in 1937 and became an absolute legend with the Marines in the jungles of the Pacific during World War II. Its secret sauce was the design. It spits the empty shells out the bottom, not the side, which, if you're a lefty, was an absolute game changer back then.
But fast forward to the 80s, and things weren't looking so good. The company was in trouble, quality control was a mess, and the Model 37 nearly faded away completely. Then, boom, in 2005, a comeback. The new Ithaca company started making the main part of the gun, the receiver, by machining it from a solid block of steel. This makes it way stronger and more precise than the old way. And the result? A shotgun that's smoother and more dependable than it ever was. And you can't talk about WWII icons without talking about the M1 carbine. This little rifle was a total game changer. At just over 5 pounds, it was so light and easy to carry, which is exactly why more of them were handed out to American troops than any other weapon during the war, from paratroopers over Normandy to Marines on island-hopping campaigns.
After the war, these carbines got super popular back home. But eventually, the supply of original surplus guns just dried up. And you know what happens when demand is high and supply is low, right? Prices went through the roof. We're talking up to $3,000 for a real, authentic piece. That kind of demand created a huge opportunity for someone to step in and build a top-notch, modern version that stayed true to the classic.
All right, let's move from the trenches to the great outdoors. Now we're looking at the firearms that are just part of the fabric of American hunting and outdoor life. The kind of guns that get passed down from one generation to the next.
And oh boy, if you want a comeback story with some real drama, look no further than the Marlin 336. For decades, it was simply known as America's deer rifle. But then, new owners took over in 2007, and quality just fell off a cliff. Rifles were gritty, unreliable. It was a mess. It really looked like the end of a legend. Until Ruger stepped in, bought the whole brand in 2020, and just 2 years later brought back a 336 that was even better than the original.
So how'd they pull that off? Well, they got rid of the sloppy manufacturing and started using precision machined steel. They brought in cold hammer forged barrels, which is a process that makes them incredibly strong and accurate. And this is the key thing, right? They didn't just flip the switch back on. No, they tore it down and re-engineered the whole thing to fix the exact problems that had nearly destroyed its reputation.
Okay, so we've covered war and the woods. Now, let's talk about the rock stars, the guns that are famous not just for their function, but for the stories they tell, for the characters they're forever linked with. These are the legends of the silver screen, and they're getting a major 21st century reboot.
You literally can't have this conversation without bringing up the Walther PPK. I mean, since 1931, its sleek, compact style made it a top pick for police in Europe, but let's be real, it became a global superstar as the sidearm of, well, you know who.
For a long time, if you wanted one in the States, you had to find a pricey import. Then, in 2012, it just vanished from the US market. Gone. And for 7 years, which for fans felt like an eternity, there was nothing. Then, in 2019, Walther USA did something awesome. They started making the PPK right here in America, down in Arkansas. This meant better machining, tighter quality control, and honestly, a better-made pistol than a lot of the later imports.
And speaking of legends, my goodness, the Colt Python. This revolver was famous for its stunning blue finish and a trigger pull that was as smooth as butter. People considered it a piece of art, so when Colt actually stopped making them in 2005, the collector's market went absolutely bananas. Prices shot up to $5,000. It became one of those things you kept in a glass case, almost too beautiful to actually use.
Then, in 2020, Colt just blows everyone's minds and brings it back. By using modern computer-guided machines and stronger steel, they managed to re-release the Python for around $1,500. And just like that, one of the most famous revolvers of all time wasn't just a museum piece anymore. It was back in the hands of shooters.
Okay, so we've looked at guns from the battlefield, the deer stand, and the big screen. You gotta be asking, what's the common thread here? What's actually driving this huge wave of classic revivals? Let's connect the dots.
When you look at all these stories, it really boils down to a few key things. You've got modern manufacturing, like computer-guided machining that can create these old designs with a precision that was just impossible back in the day. There's also a real hunger out there for things with a story, with some history. We also see companies like Ruger coming in and just pouring money and resources into doing it right. And in a world where so much stuff feels disposable, there's just a huge appreciation for proven designs that were built to last a lifetime.
And that, my friends, brings us to the grand finale, the story I promised you at the very beginning. And trust me, this is, hands down, the most unbelievable comeback of them all. It's about a handgun that went from being a total punchline to an absolute powerhouse.
For the longest time, the Desert Eagle was, well, let's be honest, it was kind of a joke. Yeah, it was famous from all the movies and video games, but its real-world reputation tanked after production moved overseas. People saw it as big, flashy, and super unreliable. A cool prop, maybe, but not a serious firearm.
But then, the whole story flips on its head. Production came back to the United States, to a plant in Minnesota. And this wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a total change in philosophy. The company decided they were going to turn this over-the-top 80s icon into a true high-performance machine.
And the results? I mean, they're just staggering. The new American-made Desert Eagles are hand-fitted, built with incredible precision, and they are shockingly accurate. We're talking about performance that can actually hang with some dedicated hunting rifles. It went from a pop culture joke to a masterpiece of American engineering.
So when you look at all these stories, a shotgun from the beaches of WWII, a deer rifle from your grandpa's cabin, or a movie star's sidearm, this whole trend proves one thing very clearly. A truly great design never really goes out of style. It's never forgotten. And that kind of leaves you with one big question to chew on, right? It doesn't matter if we're talking about cars, or architecture, or firearms. What is that magic ingredient, that secret sauce, that takes a design from being just good for its time to being truly, absolutely timeless? Thanks for watching.